All right, everybody, and welcome to Hard Rock History Show, episode 24, part 2. I am your host, Paul and Christine, and believe it or not, uh, we had such a great conversation that his phone got so hot from this conversation it died on us.
Yep.
And between that time was this is now a month later, like, full disclosure, it's a month later, and this man has been on tour, and this man I'm talking about is Jeff Mantas Dunn of Abaddon Mantas. Jeff, how are you, my friend?
I'm very good. Very good. Yep. Live and
Thank you for coming back to me.
oh, no problem. No problem. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I talk shit for hours, so you know, I'm here.
Well, I love your Facebook. I love the videos you do. I love you looking at Abaddon and he's giving you the finger.
Nah, some things never change.
So that's a lot of fun. It's
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
keep going. This guy is still following me. Why is this guy following me?
Yeah.
It's a
No,
real
it's all
treat.
good.
I
It's
want to
all
ask
good.
you, you were on tour for a couple of weeks now. How is it possible to get these people to come with you? Because you're doing one-offs. You're not doing a row of shows.
No, no.
You're having a special guest type of thing at the moment that you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
And so is it the places that you go and he was sponsoring and paying the singers and stuff to come along with you? Is that how it works?
No, I mean everything that we're doing, all the costs and all the artist fees and all the guest fees, everything comes out of our fee that we get for the
Oh,
gig.
wow. Okay.
I mean, we want to take these people with us, and we invited them along, and you know, I mean, there's some of them who are with us all the time. Some of them are with us, when they can make it, when they haven't got other touring commitments. And, we're very lucky to have been able, with the help of Andy Brings, the guitarist, to have been able to drag Tom Angel Ripper out of a sort of semi-retirement, if you like, to get him up on stage with us, and he's absolutely loving it. So Tom and Andy will be with us again in France. I mean, the mainstays of it really have been David Vincent
Hmm.
and Diva Satanica, both doing a phenomenal job, And I've spoke at length to David, and David says he gets asked to do a lot of stuff, and he says there's a lot of stuff that I sort of kind of turned down, and he says, but this, I'm just having the most fun, And I mean, the last show we did, I think for Grass Pop, we were a touring party of 17 people. And for the Swedish show, it was 14.
The
And
last show you had a lot of special guests. The last one you just did.
oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's, you know, even if there's guests who are artists, I'll just say artists who are on the same festival as us, and our agent will approach them and say, I know that you like Venom, so would you like to get up with the guys? And all I do is then I'll send a set list with the available songs, because David and Diva and obviously Nurgle as well, they have their own specific songs that they're doing.
Right.
So I don't give their songs to anybody else. We've had Sakis from Rotting Christ, Efthimus from Nightfall. Oh God, there's been so many. We had Lord Arrowman came up from Dark Funeral. He was playing in League with Satan. Now he's going to join us again, I think, in Norway, and he's going to do In League with Satan and Countess Bathory with us. Um,
And
Tommy
now,
and
you
Sheriff
guys
and
have a
Andy.
teleprompter for them, or do they know the songs by memory?
No, they know the songs. They come in
Okay.
totally prepared. Totally prepared. What I do is I'll send them an MP3 of the song I've re-recorded the whole set in my studio here. Every song that we're playing in the set, I've re-recorded. So everybody will get, say, for example, Blake will get, he'll get tracks without bass. Abaddon gets tracks without drums. I've got tracks without guitar. The vocalists, they get all the tracks without the vocals. And Tom and Andy from Sodom, they've been rehearsing in their rehearsal studio, and they always play Angel Dust and 1000 Days in Sodom when they come along. So I think this will probably be the fourth show that they've been with us, third or fourth. But do you know what it is? We've all said, and me in particular, it's sort of, myself and Abaddon are, at the helm of this, I suppose. And everybody said this is such a happy tour, and it gets overused a lot. I think family, but it's a happy
No,
little
it's, if
family
it's
that we've
true,
got,
it's true.
and there's no egos, there's nothing at all. It's everybody's having
You
great
see, you
fun.
guys are having fun on that stage. You really do.
Oh, it's incredible. I've even, we were all in the dressing room together, and I just said, look, I've got to say, as the founder of the band, this is the most fun and the most relaxed I've ever been in any Venom situation. It's great. I love it. And we've already got 6 shows booked for next year.
Oh, fantastic.
Um, and they'll all be announced shortly. And we're talking to another 2, I think it is. Well, the agent's talking to another 2, and we keep getting offered like tours, full on tours. But I mean, you've got to remember, I'm 65, Abaddon's 66, and he's in remission from cancer. I've got 2 heart attacks behind me, so
Right.
it's like we've already said, we've done 2 in a row, and we've done 1 and a day off and another 1, and we've got a great crew now as well, which helps a hell of a lot. We've got a tour manager, sound guy, and we've got lighting and pyro guy, and then there's guitar techs and drum techs. So it's really good, and everybody knows their job absolutely spot on, and it's great to be able to turn up and do your job, rather than crawling about on your hands and knees and setting your own equipment up and
Yeah,
all this
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff, which I've done it for years, but when I had the first talks about this project with the agent and with the tour manager, they both said it's your job to go on stage and play, and that's what we want.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
it's the shows have got to be what you would like to see. So at the moment, the shows are getting there. I mean, it's already looking great at the minute, but there's a hell of a lot more planned. And all we've got to do is we've just got to keep building it and building it and building it. Now, hopefully for 2028, if we're still alive,
I'm
we
knocking
want
on
to do
wood.
something. Oh yeah, same here. There's going to be something really special, but that's going to take building up to.
Right.
So
It's almost like
um,
starting in the beginning again in that sense, right? Of you,
yeah, yeah,
gathering the fans and making everybody knowing you're out there again, and how well it's
mhm,
going. And like you said, the gig's got to be significant now for you too, Jeff. And it's not like you can't be going to a club playing to 25 people anymore. It's not. Sometimes it's not where
no.
you can have the drive, but sometimes it's not like they say the juice is not worth the squeeze.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I mean, I've done all that. I
Right.
did that from 2010 to 2023. I've played everywhere, and some of them were great, some of them were not so great. Um, so I've
And you
done
paid your
that.
dues,
Um, yeah, yeah,
you
it's
know?
like the Jews have been paid.
Right. Over and over, to be honest
So
with you.
over and over. So now it's time to
Reap the
not
benefits.
yeah, reap the benefits. I suppose we're not in that massive position yet, but at the same time, we're in a hell of a lot healthier position than we've ever been in. And it's we're already looking at like other songs we can put into the set, and it's we've got to look at as well, there's got to be shows which are just the three of us at some point.
Right, right.
We've got to do that, And I mean, the comments about Blake, about Bulldozer, everybody is, you get the obvious one, oh, fucking old Kronos, or what, and I say, fuck off. It's like,
Tell him
the
go back in a
guy
fucking
agreed.
time machine, and then you can see
Yeah,
that
yeah,
Venom.
yeah. Yeah, exactly,
Or go on YouTube and watch the
Um,
fucking shows.
yeah. But I mean, Blake put a very eloquent statement out, but these people are in the minority. But you know what it's like. You can have a million positive comments, and that one negative one
Right, right.
always
That gets the
sticks in
itch.
your fucking head,
Yeah,
Those are the things you've got to get past, You've got to get
yeah,
past all that.
yeah.
But the comments about Blake have just been unreal. And I mean, the guy's, he's 21-year-old and he's a total pro, absolute professional. I don't have to worry about. I'll send him a set list with his name beside all the songs that he's singing, and I just get a fucking. The answer is cool, and that's it. He's there.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about him in the slightest.
Well, I said
Great,
when you did
great
that
kid.
that show, and it was Pro Shot, and I saw it on YouTube, and the same thing, like, who the fuck is this guy? That's the first thing you say,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see him,
Mm-hmm.
and he looks like a Greek god, as it is too, all muscular and and good looking as it is too, and he can play, and then he hits the range, he hits the low range, to sing the
Yeah,
songs.
yeah,
I'm like, wow! I said this guy's impressive, and he has the great energy of playing the
yeah,
songs, and you guys together really are working well. You see on stage
yeah,
everything's clicking, yeah. So
yeah,
God,
yeah.
God bless that it's really going well that in that sense.
Oh yeah, it's going really. Every show is getting better and better and better. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, because you're
Obviously at
getting
the
tighter
beginning it's
now
going to.
too.
Yeah, yeah, it's getting tighter. I mean, there's obviously going to be teething problems at the beginning, but everything's getting better as the shows progress. And you get that sort of road tightness, I suppose, from being on the road and doing it night after night.
Right.
So for what we're doing, I'm looking at it going, yeah, it's still got that chaos of Venom. It's still got, and everybody says it's just so fucking authentic. It's like,
Hmm.
wow, it's just, and that's what we've got to do. If we're doing this as a legacy act at the moment, then that's what it's got to be. It's got to be authentic, and that's the one thing everybody said right from the beginning was that we know all the failings of the musicianship in Venom, all that kind of stuff, right? But it's got to have that element of chaos for it to be true, for
Right.
it to be the true thing, And there's other acts out there who are going, oh well, we've got nothing to do with Venom. Well, you've got nothing to do with Venom. Play your own fucking songs and fucking don't use the logo anymore.
Right. Or
It's
don't
like,
play. Right.
yeah, it's like, so. I mean, we're going out there and basically celebrating what we've done and what we've created, and I suppose to a lesser extent what we've achieved.
Right.
Um, and we're thoroughly enjoying it. We're having the best time. And do you know what it is? I think at the end of every fucking concert, I said it at the Keep It True for the beginning one. Looking back on it and having had all that time to reflect when I was sitting in the house doing nothing, and after the second heart attack, and the partnership between me and Abaddon should never have, never have ended. It went astray. Let's
Right.
put it that way. There was a lot of outside influence in that. And we know, yes, everybody who knows the history of the band knows there's a lot of water under the bridge between the three members. It doesn't matter if it's me and Kronos and Abaddon, or me and Abaddon. And, there is a lot of water under the bridge there. But it's been exacerbated by the opinions of other people as well. And it's
Hmm.
been, having other people's opinions forced upon you sometimes And, I've even spoke to Abaddon, and, as I said, over the last fucking 13 years, 2010 to 23, and there's even times now where I'll look in the mirror and go, you fucking idiot. You fucking gullible fucking idiot. I was told so many times by people close to the source,
Mm-hmm.
be careful, be careful, be careful. And it was like, well, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, there you go. Everything comes true. And I just look there and just go fucking, I just need idiot tattooed on my fucking forehead, I think.
But what
But
they say though, Jeff, too, all roads lead to where you are now.
exactly, exactly. I mean,
So you
that's what I was
can't
going to say.
you can't
It,
judge or say like you say you're an idiot, but being an idiot there got you to where you are now, and that listen, you could have hit the landmine today if you stayed the
yeah, yeah,
course, and whatever might have been, or you guys stuck together, and then someone could have
yeah,
fucked somebody then,
yeah.
you
But
know. So
I mean, you're absolutely right, and I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason.
me too.
And I mean, when I announced I was leaving Venom Inc., I had nothing to fall back on. There was nothing there. There was no band. There was absolutely fuck all. And I have read people saying, "Oh yeah, this was all planned." No, it fucking wasn't. No, it wasn't. You don't know shit, so shut the fuck up. It's I walked away from essentially my only source of income,
Mm.
but I felt that strongly. I felt that strongly about it. I just said, "That's it. That's it. I can't do this anymore. Can't do it anymore."
What was the problem at
And
that
then
moment for you?
at that moment,
Because
there
when
was
I
there
saw
was a
you,
lot.
sorry to interrupt you. When I saw you, you played the Gramercy,
Yeah, yeah.
and Abaddon left, and Jeremy came in. That was one of his
Mm-hmm.
first gigs. And then I think shortly after that, were you gone after that at the ending of that tour itself?
Um. Oh God, I can't remember at the end of that. 'Cause I do remember that we got that horrible diagnosis about Anita, my partner,
Right.
which eventually was overturned. But we had 18 months of fucking hell, not knowing
Right.
what the hell was going on and trying to get into the medical system. Then obviously I had the second heart attack, and what all I can say about it is, right, I don't want to go over old ground, but I was on the brink of leaving that band 4 times, and all because of individuals' behavior.
Mm.
And it's nothing more than that. Nothing. There was no, musical differences, bollocks. No, nothing like that. Finance. No, wasn't. It was the individual's behavior. And I remember in 2016, I came back off one tour and walked through the front door, and Anita was like, "Oh, how did it go?" And I went, "Fuck this." And it
Mm.
was that was that early. Venom Inc. only came into being in 2015. In 2016, I was going, fucking no way. I can't fucking do this. But I kept going. There was a second, and then a third, then a fourth. I was like, and one of the incidents, I mean, it was our tour manager in the back of a cab on the way to JFK who persuaded me to stay with the fucking band. I was out of it then. And then there was another incident where I actually contacted Nuclear Blast and said, right, where do I stand? Because I know the new album's coming out. I can't work with this guy anymore. I just
Mm.
can't do this anymore. And they were very gracious about the whole thing. And I've still got the emails from them. And they did say, look, if you can stay till the album release, we'll be very grateful for that. And if there's any festival commitments, could you please do those? And then after that, you're free to go. We totally understand your position. I was like, right, okay, then. So obviously, I stayed longer than I intended. But um, in that email from Nuclear Blast, there was also a line that said, Venom Inc. without Mantas makes no sense. So that came from Nuclear Blast, not me. That came from them.
Right.
Um, and then, like I say, second heart attack, and then it was just like the communication kind of broke down. And then the last thing that really put the nail in the coffin was when I seen a poster on Facebook for a gig in my hometown in Newcastle, where I founded the band. And I went, I didn't even know about that, because my thought was, if I'd been told about that, I could have said, okay, then maybe I'll come over and do a few songs and announce my retirement. Where it started, so it ends.
Right.
But no, there was nothing. There was nothing. And I do remember being offered Newcastle as Empire of Evil and as Venom Inc. And other members of the band just saying, fuck that, I don't want to play there. And then all of a sudden, they go to Newcastle. And by all accounts, from what I've heard anyway, I haven't watched any of the footage, nothing, not interested. But people were leaving in droves. So I've been told. And that's not just from one person, that's from a lot of fucking people. And I got a lot of messages. My inbox was flooded with fucking messages after their show saying, good job you didn't come, that was shit. I was like, oh, right, okay, that's you saying it, not me. I'm not saying a fucking word. But no, I'm glad. I'm just glad to be out of that situation. It's
all that time, did anybody try to straighten the person that we're not talking about out and say, you could be blowing a good fucking thing here, stop being a baby, regardless of what the circumstances might have been? I mean, because we're all fucking grown, we're all grown adults in the end, but a lot of us are not mature enough to understand that we're grown adults.
yeah, I know. I mean, there was many times. There was a lot of fucking things. There was a hell of a lot of things. And
So you
I
felt it
had
wasn't
conversations,
salvageable.
and I was like, but I didn't think it was salvageable at all. No,
Yeah.
there was. Let me just say, and I've got absolute proof of this in screenshots and all kinds of stuff, right? And I get told a lot of things from personal friends. I don't ask about, I never inquire, I never ask, I'm not interested. But I get told and I get messages, hey, Jeff, I just thought you better know I was talking to, and he said, and I'm like, holy fuck. And even in Greece, I met two of my dearest friends who I've known for a long, long time. And we were in a cafe on the marina in Volos, and they said, um, he said this about you. And I was like, oh, fuck's sake. Let me just say that the public persona does not match the private person.
Mm.
There's I've heard a lot of just vindictive things, and it's like, right, if that's the way you want to go, get on with it. But I'm damn sure that I could stand up, as I did in the Royal High Court of Justice under oath, when I stood up and told the truth about the Venom situation regarding Kronos and Abaddon. I would go back into that same courtroom, swear an oath, and tell the same truth about my situation. So, it's like I've got nothing to hide. I've got
Right.
absolutely fucking nothing to hide.
Right.
It's like, but you get asked it so many times. And sometimes you think, right, are people asking me this so many times just to, sort of trip up and make a mistake or whatever? But if you're telling the truth, it's
Well, they
going to
don't
be
do
the
their
same.
research, to be honest with you. That's why they're asking you,
Yeah.
probably too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So
But it's but like I say, I mean, I've even had things, like all these, and I know there's two definite individuals who get involved in threads and stuff like that. I know them both. And like I say, I see all the private messages, I see all the threads and all that kind of stuff. Um, and I just look at it and just go, this is childish. It's desperation. It's stupid. Just get on with what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and go, yeah, well, their own material. What material? It's like, oh, well, they played the whole of Ave. The whole of Ave. Right. The guy who wrote the whole of fucking Ave is sitting here looking at that camera right now.
Right.
The other person had one set of lyrics on that album and a scattering of lyrics throughout. I wrote that whole fucking album in its entirety. In fact, Dein Fleisch, Bloodstained, and I Kneel to Know God were all written 3 years prior to that album coming out. They were written for Empire of Evil. And there's another one, Empire of Evil. I wrote all the material for that as well. All of it, the whole lot. He might have had lyrics on it and stuff like that. I played the bass on the album, Hell to the Holy. Now, I'm just saying this because if people want to, you know, if individuals want to go behind my back and talk to my friends and say, oh, you know, and start rumors about us where I go, what?
Yeah.
Trying to discredit me, then I'll go fucking public right up there. Hello, I'm not going to throw a jab. I'll go straight in with a big right cross and take your head off because I'm sick of it. And now I think it's time to just grow up and you go that way and I'll go that way. But the other thing I've got to say is, you know, when all this came together, and I mean, the whole thing that myself and Abaddon are doing now come together through the court case that he had with Kronos. And I was just called as a witness. You know, I had, you know, I look at it in a little bit of a strange way, really, because, you know, if you look at the credits on the first two albums, Welcome to Hell and Black Metal, it says Land, Dunn and Bray. And that's because we threw everything into the pot. But the majority of those songs, I would go out on a limb and say between the two albums, a good 80% of those songs are mine. I wrote them. Right? And there was a good few of them written before Kronos joined the band. That's by the by. But when it came to the artwork, it said artwork by Venom. Right? So everybody in those days was all one for one, one for all type
Right,
of thing,
sure.
right? And then all of a sudden, okay, so your publishing still says Land, Dunn, Bray, but your artwork just says your name, does it? Okay, so that's the way you want to play it. When I was the one that gave you permission to use the Venom name in the first place. Not by contract, not by lawyer, by a phone call, a gentleman's sort of, just get on with it. Yeah, that's all it was. But, you know, I've seen so many things about the court case and whatnot. It's just go to the court documents and read them. They're there for the public to read now. They're public property now. You can read all the witness statements, the judgments, everything. So don't make up crap. You know, well, you know, Kronos sued Abaddon and won. No, he didn't. You know, if anything came out of it, Kronos got what he wanted and Abaddon got what he wanted. And that's the way I look at it. Now, right. I think the strange thing is that, you know, Abaddon was given full copyright and authorship and ownership of the original Venom logo, which is the logo you see on Welcome to Hell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody knows the tale about the font, right? Everybody knows about the font, right? But the actual authorship of that logo was awarded by the Royal High Court of Justice in London Intellectual Properties Department to Anthony Bray, Abaddon. Okay. Right. The black metal version was granted to Conrad Land, right? So essentially the black metal version, I suppose, has been in a way given its own copyright, which seems a little bit strange where, you know, you could put the two logos up to the average layperson on the street who knows nothing about artwork or metal and say, are there any similarities between these two drawings? 99% of people are going to go, yeah, that one's a little bit more spiky than that one, but yeah, they look pretty similar. So I don't know how this one's got its own copyright. In the same way as you're wearing a nice Judas Priest shirt there, if I go out and just, extend the J and, make the P look a bit different and stick a spike on the T, am I going to sell my own Judas Priest t-shirts? No. I'll
Right.
be straight back in that fucking call room on the other side of it, won't I? Yeah, exactly. So in that respect, I think everybody's got out of it what they want when it comes down to the artwork. That's my outlook on it. If you wanted any more on it, you would have to speak to Abaddon or Kronos. But that's my look on it. The only reason that I did get involved was because when I seen what the other side was claiming, aside from the artwork, I was like, wow. So that's when I got involved and bullet pointed everything, made a first statement, then I got asked to make a second statement, and then obviously I had to appear in the court and give
And
my
don't you have the
evidence.
property of the original demos and you writing the lyrics and stuff like that? You have ownership to that stuff anyway, right? So you could approach
Well,
that, and said, or when you started recording, you like you said, you were like the Three Musketeers, and you said, all right, everybody gets a chunk, and we'll all put our names
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
everything.
Yeah, yeah, that was it. It was like it was three young guys together, essentially as friends.
Hmm.
And it was it was like right. I can remember going into this rat infested shithole, horrible fucking rehearsal place. Well, it was a fucking dump masquerading as a rehearsal place on a Sunday morning on Newcastle Dockside. We call it the Quayside, but it's essentially the docks. And after at about I don't know midday or something, there was a really good market on the quayside. So we used to go down early and rehearse, and then pack the van, and then we would go to the market. There was bootleg stalls and metal stalls. It was great, great time. And I can remember this Sunday morning turning up to rehearsal, just excited as fuck, and going in and going, "I've got a new song," and it was Witching Hour. The
Mm.
new song was Witching Hour. I had the music, I had the lyrics, I had everything. It was like, right, it goes like this. Um, but it was still put down to the three of us. So, that was part in my witness statement. I do think I touched on this where I think I said, you know, if the songs are three ways and everybody's getting publishing and mechanicals from those, so why isn't the artwork three ways? Why doesn't
True.
it work like that for the artwork? So, but anyway, it's all done and
And like you
dusted.
didn't stick your nose in it that way too. You could have said, hey, I want a piece of that pie also.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't do that. I mean, you were more honorable than anything about something like that.
Well, I mean, for years, I mean, I don't think anybody in the band has ever seen an official royalty statement from Neat Records. So we couldn't tell you what Welcome to Hell or Black Metal have sold.
Mm.
Not at all. No, I've never seen Neat Records royalty statement from the period blah 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 to blah blah blah. Da 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 da. You are owed blah blah. Never seen one of those ever in my life.
To this
Right.
day,
To this day, no,
holy shit.
not
Now, come on.
anything with Neat Records on.
How many
No,
copies
not
did black metal sell?
exactly, exactly. I
Come
mean,
on.
we
And to this day, probably still selling.
yeah, yeah. I mean, now obviously it's all handled by Sony
Right,
BMG.
because it bought it over,
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So now, yes, obviously, we get statements and stuff
But
like
not from the
that. So I
get-go,
mean,
yeah.
but not from the get. Fucking hell, no, no, never seen anything like that. And I mean, we were fucking just young guys. We were gullible. It was like we were just happy to be doing stuff. And the same way, I've never seen a T-shirt royalty statement. Never,
Wow.
never seen anything like that. So. So anybody out there who says like, "Oh, it must be fucking nice for you," like fucking millionaire, not I say, what?
You
I'm the
wish,
same as you, man. Yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah.
that it
When the
worked out
bills
that
drop,
way. It should have worked out that way.
yeah, yeah. When the fucking bills drop through the door, I'm still the one opening the envelope, going, "Oh, fucking hell, great," So, um,
It,
but no, I think
Jeff,
it's worked out.
in the beginning, did you get a certain budget to create the albums? And then what? And then you made a living wage on the tour. So how did it work out? So did you guys go in the studio you created? How did it
We,
work out for those first two albums?
do you know what it is? We were all on unemployment benefit at one point. And
Okay.
then we were going away and doing stuff. So we thought, well, we can't do this. And we approached it. So going from £27 per week on unemployment benefit, we went to the amazing figure of £30 a week from Neat Records.
You got a raise.
That's what, yeah, we got a raise. Hey, that's what we got, you know. But it was like a cliche, but we were living the dream. You
Yeah.
know, it was like, and which band on the planet at that point put out a single and an album, and then went and played the biggest venues in fucking Europe in 1984, and also had fucking one of the first bands to have Metallica open for them, and then take Metallica to Europe for the first time as our opening act.
Yeah.
It was like, there's I think a lot of that outweighs what we didn't get. Let's put it that way. I mean, the legacy of this band is ridiculous, and it still goes over my head, And now doing these shows and meeting so many more people, and then in Sweden, in the dressing room, I had Nurgle sitting at one side, David Vincent at the back, Lord Araman over there, Eric from Watain was beside us, Sakis from Rotten Christ, Nurgle sitting there with Venom albums that we had just signed for him. And it was the same at Keep It True. We went outside just to have a coffee and things. We were rehearsing, actually. It was the rehearsal studios before the show. We went outside to have a coffee. We were signing albums for Schmear. We were signing albums for Tom and Andy from Sodom, and even Tom Warrior from Celtic Frost, Hellhammer. We're signing albums for these people. And it's like, fucking hell. It blows my mind when I see the royalty who look at us and go, we're not worthy. It's like, whoa, fucking hell. It's unbelievable. I just can't get my head around it. I really can't. I mean, I suppose that comes from being born and bred in Newcastle and working class. I mean, my feet are on the ground, firmly planted on the fucking ground, And
in the States wise itself, when the first album came out, there was a murmur about you guys. I'll tell you how it is around in my area. But when black metal came out, it really was like a tornado. There was such a talk about it, and you guys in Kerrang, like I said, our Bibles here were Kerrang and Sounds, and then reading about that stuff, and then going to my import store and buying black metal, and then hearing it, and like fucking Teacher's Pet comes on and buried alive. I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck is this, and then you call
yeah,
up and then you make a cassette and then we're on the corner and you're like, I mean, you really affected our lives too in that sense. That I mean, like black metal and like when you talk about the new wave and the darkness and the beginnings of thrash and all that stuff, and you guys are right there, one of the founding fathers of it. Did you feel that in the studio while making black metal that there was something different about this, or was it just another album you're cutting? You had the
it was
ideas and you went in, you put it
no,
down.
it was just another album. I mean,
Were you
Buried
shocked
Alive and
by the reaction to it?
oh, I'm still shocked today. Like nearly 45 years on, I'm still shocked by the reaction to it.
So you not
Um,
listen to like when if have you listened to it in a while? Your ears now listen to it. Have you just played it and listened to it on your own?
yeah, I mean, I still listen. I can't remember the last time I really, really played it,
Hmm.
but obviously I play the songs all the time because
Sure,
we're
but it's not the same
doing
thing
all
as
the
like,
stuff.
sitting down and going, fuck, that was good. Or bring it back to the studio when you're cutting that lead, shit like that.
It's oh, I don't know. It was just well. Let's put it this way. this book that I've been writing for fucking Christ knows how long. There's a chapter in there that I've written called The Dreaded Second Album. And I think it's true of any band who has a successful first album where the reviews come in going, wow, this is fucking great, blah, 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 blah. I mean, Welcome to Hell, probably still my favorite personal Venom album. But when that came out and the reviews came out about it, it was like, I was, looking in Sounds and Kerrang and all these other magazines, and it was like, holy shit, and we were getting phenomenal reviews for it. And then when it came to do the second album, I say in the book that any band who's had that kind of success with the first album, or that impact or that influence with the first album, when it comes to the second album, I think a lot of people will go, right, we've got to make this better. This one's got to be even better than that one, blah, blah, blah. We had none of those thoughts whatsoever. It was business as usual. I mean, come on. I wrote the riff to fucking black metal sitting on the toilet. It's and that's absolutely fucking true, and Leave Me in Hell, I wrote that song shortly after the release of black metal, and we played it in 1982 at Popperinger as part of the set. So Leave Me in Hell was the first song which was premiered off the black metal album. Buried Alive and Raise the Dead, there's still that old church hall recording where we were kids in a church hall rehearsing, and Clive Archer singing those two songs, the singer that we had at the time. So there was no thoughts of this has got to be something different. And the only sort of stroke of genius that I would say that we had was having the album, and instead of side one and side two, we had side black and side metal, where we tried to put all the dark stuff on one side of the album and all the metal stuff on the other. And all of a sudden it creates a fucking genre. But people tend to forget that, as you mentioned, there's a song called Teacher's Pet on there, which is bluesy rock and roll, fucking, it's the typical schoolboy fantasy about the teacher, The first line is true. The first line is absolutely true, but, the rest of it has got a bit of artistic license, I suppose. And on the first album, there's a track called Poison, which is another sort of, as David Vincent says, another cock rock, and he sings Poison live with us now. And it's his favorite. It's one of his favorite songs to sing. He loves it, and he does a fucking good job of it as well. But we could never have imagined that album, or those two albums in particular. But I think you've got to give the edge to black metal because of the genre thing and everything like that. But none of us could have imagined the effect that they would have at all. I certainly didn't. When Countess Bathory, I've told this a million times. I walked into Neat Records one day, went up into the studio. It was called Impulse Studios in Wallsend High Street. And our manager's brother, Jed, who at that point, I think he was the drummer in Tyson Dog. And then he went on to be the drummer in Atomcraft. But he was sitting on Abaddon's kit, and he was playing a double bass drum pattern, just this. So we sort of nodded hello to each other. I opened my guitar case, took the guitar out, and I had my Marshall JCM 800 with an angled cab, the horrible blue fuzz pedal that I used. I plugged in, and I looked at him, and I was doing this, just say, keep going. And as he was playing, I went bam, bam, down, 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 down. And now when I do that in front of an audience, the place fucking erupts.
Yeah.
We've just done it in Greece, and my God, the volume that they sang that song at was unbelievable. But you know that's the thing. You know, I can still remember that. That was how Countess Bathory was born. You know, and then it was a case of Conrad coming into the studio, and he always had a little folder with lyrical ideas in. And he said to me, he says, "Oh, what's that?" You know, and I was like, "Don't know," you know. And I had put the down, down. Such a simple song. There's nothing to it, you know. And I went through the chorus again, and he just pulled this bit of lyrics out, and he went, "Oh, right, keep a Countess Bathory," and that was it. Now, Countess Bathory was born. That was it. It was my music, his lyrics. Great. I think I've got the last verse. I wrote the last verse for it, the last set of lyrics. But that's how it was born. It just happy accident, as we say. It just happened. And that's what I mean about, you know, everything happens for a reason. You know, the stars align and boom, boom, boom. This happens, that happens. Now, if Jed hadn't been on the kit that day, I would have just walked in and plugged my guitar in and started noodling some pointless crap. Kronos would have walked in, went, "Hey, how you doing?" and plugged into his bass rig and did the same.
Right.
But no, there was Kronos on the
accident.
drum kit. That was it. Yeah. But that's the story of Countess Bathory. That's how it came around. You know, but like I say, the reaction to it nowadays, I mean, in Greece that we've just done, I went to the front of the stage, I just rolled the volume up on the guitar, it started feeding back, and everybody, you know, everybody's cheering and whatnot. And I just went, shh, like that. And everybody was like, whoa, and I went, down, take it down, and the fucking, wow, the place just went mental. Everybody jumping up, arms around each other, jumping up and down. And we've done a little extension in the after the last verse, where it's just Abaddon on the bass drum, bam, 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 and then David and Diva Satanica, they both do the Countess, and the crowd comes back with Bathory, you know, and it works a treat. And that was David Vincent's idea. He was like, "Hey man, you ever thought of doing this?" You know, and I was like, "Nope, never thought." I says, "Let's try it." We tried it, and we've kept it in ever since.
Oh,
Genius idea. It was great. So thank you very much, Mr. Vincent. There you go.
The song Black Metal is so tremendous. Even like at the end, with Kronos doing that part, you know. I mean, it and coming right into is like a freight train. Yeah, it's starting Black Metal too, you know. Where in the writing process did Black Metal get to you? Well, like, you want to roll, or did I just come, you know, to you?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm constantly writing stuff. You know, I'll never come into this studio and sit here for 8 hours a day practicing scales. I'm not one of those guys. You know, I'll fire the studio up and I'll riff.
You're a more riff guy.
You know, and if something, yeah. If something comes out, I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And like I say, I mean, the first time I told this tale, I think there was a internet page came to me, and they were called playthisriff.com, I think it was. And they said, "Oh, we'd like you to do black metal, you know, for our like subscribers." And I was like, "All right, okay." So I was showing the riffs. They came in with the cameras and stuff, and I was showing them the riffs and all that kind of stuff. And they said, "Could you just explain how you actually wrote the song?" And I was like, "Right. Do you want a fantastical version or do you want the truth?" And they went, "Well, just tell me the truth." And I went, "Right, okay then." And I told them, I says, "You know, you go to the toilet in the morning after your first coffee or your cigarette or whatever you have, and you've got to do the business. Some people take a magazine in or whatever. I took my guitar in this day. There you have it."
No shit, literally.
And that was it. And I mean, because I remember getting that dead, and then I came out, and my father, I was living at home, and my father, who had sadly passed away by this point, but he had a cassette recorder. And my daughter still got this cassette recorder back in the UK. And it was one of these press play and record together and all that, you know, and it had a little microphone on the front. And that's what I recorded the riff onto a cassette. And I would say within 20 to 30 minutes, the whole song was finished. Everything. You know, and then again, it was Kronos coming up with the line, black is the night, metal, we fight, power, I'm set to explode, you know. And then I think I wrote the last verse for it. Against the odds, black metal gods fight to achieve our goal, casting a spell, leather and hell, black metal gods, rock and roll. You know, and the middle part
Who
of it,
bow down to your souls to the gods, rock and roll?
lay down. I think that was
lay down your souls.
That was lay down your souls to the gods, rock and roll. Yeah, that was mine because I'll tell you where it came from.
And that was great.
Have you got any idea where that would have come from?
I would think it's Sabbath.
Fall to your knees and repent, if you please.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, that's where it came from.
Oh,
you know,
now it sounds it. Now you hear it.
Yeah. And my other tip of the hat, because we tried to play this song as a very early inception of Venom with Clive Archer in the band. Clive was a huge Judas Priest fan, as was I. So we tried to play this song and failed fucking miserably, right? We couldn't play. But there's a section in it. And there's a section in Countess Bathory which goes dun 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 bam bam. Right? Now listen to the center section of The Ripper by Judas Priest. That's where that one came from. Yeah. So that was my two tips of the hat to my inspirations and my heroes, you know. Other than that, I can't think of anything else that I put into any songs. But that's another reason why I never listened to any of the bands that came after us. You know, the Bathories and all these people. I mean, you know, I've had so many people say, "Oh, you know, fucking hell, father of black metal and all that." But what do you think of Bathory? And if you put a Bathory song on now, without telling me what it was, and you said to me, "Who's this?" I would have no clue. I have never heard a Bathory song. Never heard one. And looking back on it, the reason I think that I never listened to or followed any of those bands was subconsciously I didn't want any of their influence creeping into my songwriting. Right. We had created something, and I had created it from Motorhead, Judas Priest, early Kiss. They were my influences, and that's how it stayed. The biggest influence, I think, that I've got to say that I never realized until I was writing the book and I was analyzing some of the songs was the album Overkill. It was Fast Eddie Clarke's playing, because I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. I'll just play it on here. We used to play a song.
That's not coming through.
And that was, it's not coming through, right?
Yeah, because only the audio for you is coming through.
All right, but that was No Class by Motorhead.
Okay.
Now in that, I'll just show you the position. Mm-hmm. There's a note there, there's a note there, and there's a note there and there. There's just two strings, right? It's basically the D and the G string, right? So they are what they would call a double stop, right? Which is the what do you call it? It's the fifth and the octave of a power chord, all right? So from that album, that got into my head. And now I could play probably 5 or 6 Venom songs in that position or extending it down the neck. All the double stops, Die Hard, Welcome to Hell, Leave Me in Hell, even right up to the Harvey album, The Evil Dead, that's the same. There's so many of them. They've got that in, and that's obviously attributed to Fast Eddie. The other thing I would attribute to Fast Eddie regarding my rhythm playing is, you know, that clanging Motorhead when they just do that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that in early Venom as well. A lot of that kind of rhythm stuff. And I've always said that, you know, guitar players, when it comes to this, we're all the fucking same, right? It's this that changes it.
Right.
It's the right hand, it's the picking hand that changes everything. You know, you can get exactly the same sequence of notes as somebody or one of your favorite guitar players, but can you pick the same?
Right.
You know, and that changes it.
Because
and the rhythm
that gives you the chunky sound too. If you
everything like that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the Venom songs came from all that stuff, the Motorhead and things. You know, so like I was saying, that's probably one of the reasons I never listened to any of the other stuff, you know. But I was just steeped in, well, obviously Judas Priest, you know, Kiss, fucking, and like I say, Motorhead as well, you know. I would never say, out of those three bands, I would never say I was the biggest Motorhead fan in the world. Probably my thing with Motorhead was probably the original Motorhead album and Overkill. Those two albums, you know, for me personally. But obviously Priest, everything, fucking everything. You know? And when it came to influence of Kiss, that was probably very early Kiss, or, you know, up to, you know, Love Can Destroy. Albums like that, you know. Because I mean, we used to play God of Thunder, you know, and we used to play it quite well as well, you know. It was all right. But when it came to the songwriting, I was very limited when it came to the tools. You know, if I opened my musical toolbox, I had a power chord in the first position of the pentatonic scale.
You stayed in your lane, basically.
What was that? Sorry?
You stayed in your lane, we say.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, I've always said, as a guitarist, as a musician, as a guitarist, I'm as good as I can be at any one point in my career. And every time I record something, you can guarantee that's the absolute best I can do on that day. Maybe not the next day, but on that day, that's the absolute best I can do.
You're a shit kicker that day.
I've got no interest in being one of these virtuoso shredders. I fucking hate that word, shred. Hey, man, you shred. That's like, okay, thank you very much. But, you know, I've got no interest in being an Yngwie Malmsteen or a fucking Steve Vai or whatever. But the other thing I've always said is the world has got an Yngwie Malmsteen. Why do you want to sound like Yngwie Malmsteen? Yeah, take some influence from him.
Right.
Why do you want to sound like Steve Vai? You know, the world's got a Steve Vai. Now, if Steve Vai's playing the local arena and you can play everything he plays, but you're playing the pub next door, who's the Steve Vai fan going to go and see? It's like, right, man, come on, you know.
Right.
But I mean, there's some incredible players out there. I've seen 12-year-old kids on fucking YouTube who would smoke me, and I look at them and just go, I'll never be able to do that if I have another 10 lifetimes. But then I don't want to.
Right.
You know.
And how far is that going to get?
Yeah. I'd rather write a song. It's like, I don't know if I said this in the first part of the interview, but many years ago, there was a company called John Holmescue's in England, and they had a range of guitars called Vintage, which are still around now. Very, very good guitars, by the way. And they also had some called Fret King, which were made by a guy called Trevor Wilkinson, who's an amazing luthier. And JHS, they had brought out this new guitar. And at that point, I had a couple of their guitars, and I knew the artist relations guy. Now, this guy can fucking play. And, you know, just like I've said there, Vi, Satriani, Mums, he can do it all. He really is fucking amazing. And so he got the job of demonstrating this fucking guitar. So I went onto YouTube, and there he is, and here's the demo of the new guitar, blah, blah, blah. And he tore the fucking shit out of this thing. I mean, fucking, I was sitting there going, oh, fucking hell. And then at the bottom, there was a little ticker tape went across the screen, and it said, can also be used to play a song. Oh, fucking right. Excellent. Yes. So it's like I say, Countess Bathory. Anybody can learn that song. Anybody could play that with a basic knowledge of power chords. Anybody can play that song, right? Not everybody can do what Yngwie Malmsteen does. Some of these young kids can do it, and some of these other people can do it. But it's like, okay, then write a Countess Bathory. You know, deliberately or by chance or by happy accident or whatever, but write one. Write something which stands the test of time, because that's gone in 2 seconds. It's firewood.
It's true.
You know?
I saw him last year. In the first 10 minutes, you're amazed. After about 45 minutes, it does lack after a while. You know, even if the songs are strong, the repetition of the guitar solo, you know, it all kinds of mesh together, that it turns into one
Yeah,
big song. You know what I'm saying? Like where you say, like, you know the difference between a Buried Alive and a Teacher's Pet and a black metal and a Catholic bathroom. You know what's coming up. You know what you got to hear. Where like in
yeah,
English,
yeah.
it's just like one running long solo.
Right, yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, nobody can deny the guy's talent. I mean,
No,
just
no.
he's ridiculous. But I would rather fucking sit in front of Gary Moore. Most definitely. I mean, you know, there's two people that I've said who have got the virtuoso and the songwriting thing in bucket loads. My personal opinion, Gary Moore and Eddie Van Halen. And sadly both gone. You know? So for songwriting and being a virtuoso guitarist, those two guys, as far as I'm concerned. But you know, it's like I always go by what Gary said anyway, and that is the solo of a song should take the song somewhere else, and it should elevate the song, because at the end of the day, your guitar, if you're doing a solo, your guitar is replacing the vocals, and the vocals are the most important part of any song. Doesn't matter what you've got, the vocals are, unless it's an instrumental, but the vocals are the most important part.
Right. And the lyrics have to be
But
memorable.
yeah, of course.
You know?
Yeah, of course. And that, you know, that's the one thing I'll always say about Kronos, that when he came into his own with the songwriting side of things that he was doing, he wrote some great lyrics. He really did. He wrote, and I'll never deny that. He wrote some fucking great lyrics, you know. I'll always be the first to say that, you know, regardless of what I think of him as a human being. He wrote some fucking great lyrics, you know. So, but yeah, I've always said that. Fucking greatest guitarist or greatest songwriter, I would rather be the songwriter every single time. Yeah, it's what people remember, his songs.
When the black metal tour was done, were you rushed to do At War with Satan, or did you have a little leeway to create that album?
Oh, we were never rushed to do anything, to be perfectly honest. I mean, there was always a constant kind of writing process with us. You know, there was a, you know, Conrad was writing all the time. You know, I was in the early days, I was writing all the time. And then when the personalities started to change and stuff like that, you know, when I started backing off a little bit, I didn't write. I must admit, I didn't write as much. And At War with Satan essentially was, you know, it was his little project. I mean, we were both massive fans bands of 2112, you know, the Rush album, obviously. So you can see where, you know, the concept album kind of thing came from, you know, because both Kronos and me, we both loved the album All the World's a Stage,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I mean, you know, and obviously the 2112 album itself. Loved all the early Rush stuff. I mean, most of the fucking Rush stuff. To be perfectly honest, I've always loved it. But yeah, I think that, I mean, there's a lot of my riffs in there. But the concept thing was, it was sort of his baby, if you like, you know.
You let him run.
But there
You
was
let
never
him
a
run with it
concept.
in that sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just, yeah, it happened, you know. And I remember in the studio, it was kind of recorded in two halves, then tied together. Um, I think it was an ambitious project to take on for a third album by a band who couldn't play very well. You know, me personally, I've always said, in chronological order, if you were to take Venom albums and say, right, which one should follow which one, I've always said Welcome to Hell, Black Metal, Primeval, and then Resurrection. And I think those four albums in that order, I
Mm.
think that represents a good progression of a band in its songwriting and in its production. So that's again my personal opinion, because I've heard a lot of people say that At War with Satan is their favorite Venom album. You know, I've heard a lot of people say that, you know, and that for me that's great, because it it means that we're not a one trick pony, if you
Right.
like. You know, it's like there's a lot of bands where, you know, people would say like, "Oh, that song, that's that one song, yeah, oh, great," you know, and that might be out of 4 or 5 albums. Oh yeah, I love that song. With us, why I don't know, but there seems to be a bag full of them, and it's proven when, you know, myself and Abaddon now are on stage with these guests and we're doing the songs, and you see the reaction, not just to one particular song, but to every single song. You know,
Yeah.
we open up with Witch Hour, and then, you know, we're straight into Die Hard, and they're all singing Die Hard back to us. You know, and then we'll either follow with Leave Me in Hell, or we'll follow with Welcome to Hell. And every single song gets a fucking great reaction. You know, so, and I think that's pretty rare for a band. I think it's pretty rare. But in that respect, we're blessed. We're very lucky.
You know, I had Blaze Bailey on, and when they did the X Factor album, the first song was 12 minutes long, and without what we're saying, your first song is 19 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I said to him, normally the longest songs are usually the last song on side B, because
Mm-hmm.
you want to capture your audience like black metal. You grab you by the throat, and you want to lead you down that road. Where a
Yeah.
19-minute song, I feel, is very tedious on the ears for a person on a first track, because I feel sometimes you can lose your listener,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
especially
Mm-hmm.
when they're not used to something as experimental in that sense with you guys. You know,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
as that track was building and building and building, did you say, okay, maybe what's the deal with this, or did you feel maybe it should have went to the other side of the album, not being the first track? Was there any opinion to you then of the creating of that song itself, or you just went with it?
No, there was nothing. Yeah, we just ran with it. I mean, it's again, you know, when you asked the question about black metal, it was just a continuation. Just write the songs and just go with it. And it was the same with At War with Satan. I knew we had this idea, and, you know, everybody just went along with it. And, you know, obviously, you know, the idea was spoken about, the concept track on one side, and then on the other side, you know, it's just back to what we normally do. Although I think on the other side, I think there's probably only something like, like Rip Ride or something like that, which is anywhere near what we did. I can't even remember the rest of the fucking tracks off there. But you've got to remember as well that At War with Satan, and then particularly Possessed, that was when the cracks were starting to show, and they weren't just cracks anymore. They were opening up into fucking craters. So it wasn't a time when we all gelled together particularly. Let's put it that way. I
Right.
mean, Possessed was the death knell. That was, the bells were tolling at that point. It was like, right, you know. So I mean, me personally, I think the last things that I wrote for that original lineup that I'm still proud of today. I mean, we played Chanting of the Priests at the Keep It True Festival. Because Blake wanted to do that track. I said to him, "Is there any track that you would particularly like to do?" And he went, "Oh, I love chanting." I was like, "Okay, then we'll resurrect it and we'll do it." And we did it, and it was great. But I think, off the top of my head, without thinking about it too much, I think the last songs that I wrote for the original lineup, which to me still scream Venom, were Warhead and Seven Gates of Hell.
Okay.
And I think that was it for me. I mean, Seven Gates of Hell was kind of a progression on 1,000 Days in Sodom. It was like its big brother, if you like. Where I've always said that Painkiller by Priest is Exciter's big brother.
True.
When you look at those two songs together. And I think it's the same for 1,000 Days and Seven Gates. And Seven Gates is another track which gets great reaction live as well. Even though it's one of the slower pounding tracks, but the more melodic, if you like. And at the minute we've got Diva is singing that song in its entirety. But when it came to Possessed, like I say, we recorded it. We recorded Possessed in this big, grand English stately home as well, called Moor Hall in Sussex. And I mean, I've heard things on the internet and I've read things where Kronos says, "Oh yeah, Jeff hired this big state." Jeff didn't hire a big fucking stately home. Shut up, man. It was fucking our manager Eric Cook and Abaddon who hired it for the recording, and we had the Mana mobile outside. I knew nothing about it until I turned up on the day. It was like, what the fuck, But that's where we recorded. And it was because we used the ballroom in the stately home as the studio, and at that point we were trying to get that big Creatures of the Night fucking drum sound.
Okay.
And what was the track we had on there? Fucking Too Loud for the Crowd, so that's what we were trying to capture at that point. So we had this big cavernous fucking place to do the drums in, and ended up recording everything there. But and I can remember one night. I mean, we stayed at this stately home as well. We each had a room there, and one night I was sitting on the staircase with my guitar, just sitting, wasn't plugged in or anything. And Abaddon came over to me, and I distinctly remember this. And he said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Not really, no." And that's when I said to him, I says, "I'm giving this another 6 months, and if nothing improves, that's it. Fuck it, I'm out of here." And when was it? 1986. That was it. Gone. Mm-hmm. But all of that, as I've said before, was linked to a horrible incident in 1985 at the Lorelei Festival. So, but people saying like, "Oh, it was musical differences." Was it fucking no? Again, it was down to personalities. It was like, just be who you are on stage, but when you're off stage, you're just the guy I used to go to the gym with, right? You're not
Right? You're not
anything
that
special.
persona 24
I don't
hours.
call. Yeah, it's like I don't call you by your stage name when there's just me and you sitting in a cafe somewhere.
Right?
So bring it. Don't bring it out. It's like as soon as you walk down them steps off the stage, it's like that's it. Your job's fucking done. You don't have to be that persona anymore.
It's like Kiss. The makeup comes
It's like
off, and you're Gene and Paul and Peter and
yeah,
Ace.
yeah, exactly. I mean, fucking hell. What would you think of fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger if he just walked around dressed like Terminator all day? You'd go, whoa, cuckoo. Like, oh,
Right.
that's the fucking plot. you know?
We say he believed his own hype.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a lot of that. I mean, it was fucking sad at the end of the day. And I don't know if I said this to you as well because, like I said, it's been a month since I spoke to you. But
Yeah.
on my phone, I've got the photograph, and apparently it's the last selfie that Geddy Lee took of the three of them together before Neil died.
Mm.
And you can see Geddy's got his hand up like this, and there's just these three guys with beaming smiles on their face. And I saved that photograph, and I've still got it on the phone. And I looked at it, and I was actually jealous. And I thought, fucking hell, to have that after all that time. I mean, yeah, of course they'll argue about songs or riffs or arrangements or stuff like that, but oh, you know, which is, I suppose in any creative environment, when you've got two people who are ultra creative, they are going to clash at some point. It's inevitable that you will clash at some point. But it's something that can be talked about. You don't make it personal,
Yeah.
And like I
It
said,
should be the us
I'm sure I
against the
wrote about it.
world attitude in that
Yeah, it
sense,
should have been. It should have been that. From the early days, it should have still been that all for one for all.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking hell, I remember being at Abaddon's house when he was still living with his fucking mother, right? And we were burning newspaper in his bedroom, right? And his bedroom was full of fucking smoke. And we were experimenting with a light bulb behind a fucking magnifying glass to see if we could get this beam to shine through the smoke. And we were amazed. We're like, wow, look, we can use this on stage, And we were young kids, we couldn't afford shit. So we practically set his mother's house on fire to just try this fucking stupid idea out. And, all I can say, Paul, is soon as the fucking fame hit, everything changed. Everything fucking changed, And like I say, it's sad, and you can be bitter about it, and this, that, and the other, and this stuff. Of course, you'll never forget, and all that kind of bollocks. But I mean, even with these celebrations, he was invited.
Oh, was he?
Oh fuck yeah! I got in touch via a mutual friend of both of us. And even when the court case was going on, apparently his lawyer and Abaddon's lawyer spoke about this whole reunion thing, And I've got to admit, my thoughts on it straight away was, nah, it's never going to happen, And it was only after the court case, Abaddon said to me, he says, you know what it is, for the first time in all of these years, he says, sitting in that courtroom, he says, I actually saw what you said, what you told me about him. He says, I always just let it glaze over me, He says, but no way.
Did he even look at you guys? Did he look straightforward? How was he in the court or in the courtrooms?
I mean, he was just with his team over that side, but I don't think he thought that I would get involved in this, because I'm always the quiet one. I've never said anything about nothing, you know. But as I get older, and I think, fucking hell, come on, man! I've had two fucking heart attacks. I've been dead once. If I'm not going to speak the fucking truth now, I'm never going to fucking say it. And it's like, you know,
You better get that book
I'm
out.
saying now. I'm fucking, you know what it is? I've always said that I would get on stage with him in front of an audience who would just ask questions. And I'd quite happily sit there and answer everything, you know, and wait for his responses as well. Yeah. But when we got to the court, I remember the lawyer, he took me into the courtroom because I'd never been in one of these places. And he was just showing around. He says, right, this is where you'll sit. That's the witness stand. This is where you'll be called to. The judge will be up there. Lance team will be here. We'll all be at this side. You know, he says, then he gave us some advice on the questions and things like this. I was like, right, okay, yeah. Okay, cool. And he says, right, I've got to go and talk to the barrister now because it was, you know, it wasn't just lawyers. It was the lawyers were just sitting back at this point and the barristers took over. So he went out. He said, I've got to go and talk to the barrister. Do you want to come out and get a coffee? Or but I says, no, I'll just stay in here, you know. Just I made a joke, you know, just soak the atmosphere up, I suppose, you know. So I was just sitting looking around. Kronos walked in, and as he walked past me, just, you know, hushed tones, but obviously it's just me and him in the room. As he walked past, he went, grass. Now, anybody who knows what that word means, grass, a grass in England is an informant or
Uh,
somebody who will come on board to tell the truth, you know, and all that. And I just looked and I thought, oh, yeah, we'll go. He's trying his intimidation thing. I didn't say a fucking word. I was like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, I mean, that to me spoke volumes, though, because why are you going to call me an informant if what you're saying is true?
right.
I'm contradicting what you're saying. I'm saying, no, that's not true. That didn't happen. No, this is the truth. So, in that respect, you think I'm a grass because I'm telling the truth about you. So I thought, right, just let it go. I was perfectly willing to just bring it up in front of the judge just to say, look, when I was sitting here this morning, but it didn't have to get that far. There was one point where I was told off by the judge, you know, it was like, oh, Mr. Dunn, could you just answer the question? Because I was starting to get a bit, yeah, I was like, because I did at one point, I think I said to the barrister, because he was this question and that question, then doubling back on this one, this one. It was like, you know, all designed to confuse and all this kind of stuff. And I just sat there and I went, I fail to see where your line of questioning is going. You know, so I just spoke up about another thing, like, and that's when the judge. I mean, she was very polite, and I just smiled at her and I went, "I'm terribly sorry, but it does get a bit passionate, doesn't it?" You know, and she had a little bit. Oh,
How
yes.
long did it last?
Um, well, I got there for the second day. Let's put it that way. So it was over 2 days.
Okay.
Um, so I think Kronos had been up, Abaddon had been up, there had been other witnesses up. There's a couple of witnesses up on the day that I was there. They were up fucking 2 seconds, to be perfectly honest. One of our original road crew came down on the side of Abaddon, had made a statement and came to put his story forward. So yeah, I was on the second day, and then there was the summing up. So we started. I think it started about 10 in the morning, and then we had a break for lunch, and then it continued until about 4. And then as soon as that was finished, that was it. And then we had to wait. Well, I didn't have to wait. It was, you know, Abaddon and Kronos had to wait. It was probably a good couple of months for the
For the
decision.
decision?
You know, when everything was, yeah, when everything was written up. Um, and in the meantime, I had went back to the airport and flew home back to
Now let me
Portugal.
ask
That
you,
was
with the
it.
barristers in England, I don't know how it works out with you guys. is it a public type of thing, or did you have to they have to lay out money for the lawyers?
Oh yeah, and I mean, as far as I don't know much about it, but as far as I'm aware, everything had to be paid for.
So Abaddon
Everything
had to
had to be
lay out
paid
money
for.
for this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he had some backing, and I don't know about Conrad's side. I haven't a clue. I
Yeah,
don't know,
but either way,
but everything had to
in
be
the end, the
paid for.
barristers win because they get all the money from all this bullshit.
Yeah, do you know what it is? I've always said that it must be a great job to be in because it's like it's 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 a bit miserable to be perfectly honest. I mean, I don't because when there was one point, I mean, I don't know how much to say here, but there was one point when I was reading his witness statement, and I said to our lawyer, "Has nobody questioned this? Is this absolutely true, or are they just believing it and putting it forward in front of the judge? Because this is this is crazy."
It wasn't factual.
You know, it just no, it wasn't factual. There was a lot
Mm.
of it wasn't factual. Obviously, some of it was where I was reading and going, yeah, okay, yeah. But I remember when we were training together, myself and Kronos, I actually introduced him to weight training. We got him to come down to this sports centre. There's a sports centre in a suburb of Newcastle called Walker, and Walker was just up the road from Wallsend where Neat Records was. So we used to go down to the sports centre. It was called Lightfoot Sports Centre, and it was where I started training in Taekwondo in 1976. And you could go in and pay, I don't know, at that point it was probably about 20 cents or something to go in and use the gym, you know. So we used to go down there and train. And we were both doing weight training together. And then I remember after this one session, he pulled out this tube out of his gym bag and he went, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And it was the first drawing that he had done of the black metal head, what everybody knows as the black metal head now. And it was all, Tipex and, the mistakes were rubbed out and all this kind of stuff. And then he also showed me what he had done to the Venom logo, the one that you now see on black metal, with the spiky M and the extended V and all that kind of stuff. And that was when he told me about the font. And I had no fucking idea. No idea about it. So, yeah, that was the first time. But in those early days, myself and Conrad used to share all the fucking ideas. If it was artwork or fucking anything, we used to share all the ideas. And then some of the stuff that I seen presented was like, nah, I don't think so. But, I mean, it's all done and dusted. And like I say, I think he's got what he wanted out of it. Abaddon's got what he wanted. And, that's it. It's all, never the twain shall meet.
Yeah, yeah. I want to bring it back
So,
to a memory. Do you remember the gig of Studio 54?
no, because I wasn't there.
You didn't play. Oh, so you were gone by
No.
then. What tour was
No,
that
no,
then?
no. It wasn't that I was gone. That was the tour that I missed. I missed 2 weeks of the tour because I had chicken pox.
Oh, who replaced you? Because there was a
It
blonde-haired
was Dave
guitar
Irwin.
player.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well,
It
I was
was
up in heaven.
Dave
That's why I
Irwin
thought it
from
might have been you. And I also might have been high.
No, no. It was Davey Irwin from Fist. And oh God, he's gonna kill me because I can't remember his name now. Oh Jesus, he was in Avenger for a while as the guitarist. Oh, his name will come to me.
Let's
God, I
see.
can see his face then. I can see his face now. I can't remember his fucking name. Anyway, but now they took two guitarists over from other Neat Records bands.
Right.
But I was due to fly on the Friday, and on the Wednesday, I woke up feeling like shit and just covered in spots. So I called the doctor out and I said, look, I've got a flight on Friday. I'm going to America. And he went, you're going fucking nowhere, pal. And that was it, you know.
Dave
Les
Irwin
Les
and
Cheatham.
Chetham.
Les Cheatham, yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
That's what it
they were
is.
the ones
Yeah.
that replaced
Yeah.
him.
And here it is. Here it is. Uh, when Venom played Studio 54 on April 3rd, 1985, the Ultimate Revenge Tour, the original guitarist was
Yep.
sick with the chicken pox.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was it.
Wow. Yeah, you know, it's funny. Like my brain started, and I said I don't think that's Mantas because one of the guys had very long blonde hair too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you know, but it was very like
Uh-huh.
plat. It was like a more of a platinum blonde, not like your blonde. And I said, I don't think that's Mantas. And I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
there's
yeah.
two guitar players playing. Yeah, but like I said, I was up in
Yeah,
heaven.
yeah.
So yeah, that's
Uh-huh.
amazing. That's something else.
Yeah. But I can remember when I flew into Chicago, and I think the first show that I did was the Aragon Ballroom. And I remember getting off the plane and coming through immigration and then collecting my bags. And I walked out of arrivals, and our manager, Eric Cook, was there to meet me with a driver. And I remember just stopping and saying, look, if these two guys want to continue this tour, I'll get on the next plane and go home. I don't even want to be here. That's how bad it was at that
Mm.
point. And he was like, what? Oh, fuck. Let's just get to the hotel and just talk about it, please, please. You know, fucking hell, you know. Everybody's expecting to see you and all this kind of stuff. I was like, Eric, I'm done. You know, I can't do this anymore, you know.
But of
But I
all the
did the tour.
all the shows for them to record, you're not there. Ain't that something? You know, and that really was a staple of our because of Exodus and Slayer and you know and Venom. That was one of the staple of videos that we've had that we've watched
Yeah,
endlessly. You know, in that sense.
yeah. I think even on that video, there isn't actually any footage of Venom at Studio 54. I think they had put other footage up of something else. I haven't
Oh,
even
okay.
seen it. I haven't even seen that video, to be perfectly honest. But I've been asked so many times, you know, about that, you know, Studio 54 show. But no, that was, like I say, that was the fucking chicken pox. I was like,
And
fuck.
now, and what was it, a rush job to get those two guys in? How much time did they have to learn the set?
Oh, literally days.
Wow.
A few days. I think they were still learning it on the plane on the way over.
So
Um,
was that your next gig? Was New York City your next gig when you got the chicken pox?
yeah, I mean that tour, like I've said, I was due to fly on Friday. I think the show was on a Saturday or a Sunday, one of the two. But I was due to fly on the Friday, and Wednesday morning, I woke up. I had flu-like symptoms since the previous weekend, and I felt a bit shit.
Yeah.
But Wednesday morning, I woke up and I was just like, "What the fuck?" I looked like a fucking pizza. You know, it was just like these spots everywhere. So the
Yeah.
doctor came out and as soon as the doctor looked, he went, "You got chicken pox." I was like, "Oh, fucking hell. So how long does this last? Because I'm flying on Friday." He went, "No, you're not." I was like, he says it'll be 2 weeks at least.
Did you have
Fucking
that
great.
pink lotion all over your body?
The what?
Well, when we were younger and we had chicken pox, there was a pink lotion like Pepto-Bismol that they would
Oh
put.
yes, it was chamomile lotion that
Yes,
we
yeah,
had
yeah.
over in England. Fucking, I was covered in it. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean, it's a fucking foul thing. So I can imagine how kids get, you know, really irritated with it. But apparently, it's worse because I got it when I was 20 something. Um, but they were in my mouth and on my tongue, the roof of my mouth. They were fucking everywhere. It was fucking disgusting. Horrible illness. But
Were
oh
you
no, but I
itchy?
had everything. Itching. Was
Yeah.
I what? Itching.
Itchy. Were
Oh
you itchy?
Christ, yeah. Oh yeah. And you're desperately trying not to fucking
Yeah,
scratch it
because you'll
because
make yourself raw.
yeah. I think I've actually still got a little bit of a scar up here from one of the fuckers. But yeah, I can actually feel it. I don't know if you can see it, but I can feel a little indentation in there. And that is from the fucking I'm 60 fucking 5 and I've still got it from that fucking chicken
Imagine.
pox.
That's over 40 years ago
Mm.
that happened to you.
Yeah. Fucking horrible fucking ill. But as a kid, I had everything. I had mumps, measles, fucking you name it. I had the whole fucking 9 yards, you know. But I never caught chicken pox as a kid. And then it seemed to have been eradicated for a while, you know. You never heard of it in
No.
England. And then all of a sudden there was a kind of an outbreak, you know. But
The measles
apparently,
came back for a while too.
I didn't know, but measles, yeah, they came back for a while. But where I got it from apparently was my cousin had a son. His son was, I think he was 2 year old at the time, and he came over to visit me and my mum, and the son had it or had the contagious stage of it, and that's where I fucking caught it from. I was like, fucking great, you little twat. But never mind, all done.
You still have your tonsils.
No, tonsils, adenoids. They were taken out at the age of 5.
Boy, I tell you,
Yeah.
you ran the whole gamut.
Oh yeah.
Heart
In
attacks,
fact,
you had everything happen to you.
oh, hey, tell us about it. In fact, you know, when I went in for the double bypass, and you know, I had worked at a hospital in the operating theatre, so I knew what went on, you know. But when I went in for the double bypass, I mean, it's this, you know, the heart surgeons will say, it's routine. Don't worry about it. You know, it's like, okay, routine. What? But, you know, they've got to cut through. They've got to fucking break your
Open you up. Yeah.
breastbone. They've got to open the rib cage, you know, take the heart out, stop the heart, cut the amniotic sac, fucking do all the fucking stuff, put it back, wait for it to start again, close you up, wire you together with titanium fucking wire or whatever it is, surgical steel, stitch you up. I had 50 staples down there, you know. Because one of the questions was like, so what other medical procedures have you had? I had my tonsils out. And they went, wow, you've gone from tonsils to fucking major heart surgery. Oh, nice one.
You went to the front of the line.
Oh yeah. Fucking hell. I'll never forget that. Like, but you know what? I'm still here.
Thank
That's
God.
the fucking main thing.
Thank God.
So, yeah.
I don't know if we talked
every day
about
above ground is a good day.
I don't know if we talked about you during COVID. Were you doing guitar lessons and stuff? How did you keep yourself busy during COVID?
I started doing these Facebook live things when, you know, I was just chatting to people and then doing fucking riffs and things.
That's how I came upon you, because you and the cats.
Yeah. And then obviously I built the shelter during the pandemic. And then I got into this Patreon. I started doing that as well. So that was just keeping things ticking along, you know. But, you know, as a musician, at that point in time, you know, if you're not out live, then, you know, your income drops drastically, because, you know, live is, you know, that's where you earn, you know. So, you know, you're looking at your savings throughout those, what was it, 2 years, just going dick, you know, and you're like, oh, holy shit, what's going on, you know? But you know, we muddled our way through it, you know, we survived, and still here to tell the tale. So a weird time though, weird, bizarre time.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when you think about it realistically, COVID will probably be taught in future history lessons in school. that the world, it was a world event, whether it was manufactured or fucking whatever. But, as much as you get, World War I, World War II history, all major world events, history lessons, blah, blah, blah. COVID's probably going to be in there,
Of
and
course.
all these little kids go, wow,
You,
fucking hell.
you
It
know
was a
what's weird?
bizarre time.
It was like the world needed a timeout though. That's what it ultimately did. You
Mm-hmm,
know, it
mm-hmm.
made families forced to stay together, and it was always like almost like a test too, because there was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
families too that guys were on businesses and this and that. They come home on the weekends, and now you're forced to
Oh,
see,
yeah.
what your marriages were truly about, and like I said, I mean, even though we lost a lot of people, it's like the world almost took like a breath, a deep breath, and said, "All right, let's set the clock again, and let's see if we can move on from it." You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I don't know if we did, because we probably weren't
Uh,
really right back to normal as quickly as we could.
Fucking, you know what it is? I don't think this fucking race will ever learn any lessons. It's, you just got to look at what's happening now, and fucking wars and fucking all that stuff. It's like, oh, come on, for fuck's sake, I mean, I've said a lot of times, I've got a grandson and a granddaughter, and I would hate to be in their position now growing up.
I say they're doomed,
You know,
Jeff.
it's like, it makes you think, that when we are dust and they are our age, what the fuck is this world going to be
I
like?
know, I know.
Because it's changing rapidly, and it's not changing for the better, I don't think.
Well, like they
You
would say,
know,
imagine what your grandparents would think about the way the world is now too, how they were
oh,
raised. They
not
they
not
they would
even
be able to comprehend what's going on now either.
not even that. Me and Anita had this conversation. I said, like, because my mom and dad, they were old school. My mom was the typical British housewife. My dad was the provider, and never out of work. Did his national service, joined the reservists. He was in the military all his life. And always put food on the table, provided for everybody. Like, and I was just thinking, if you brought them back for a week now, they'd be just looking around, going, "What the fuck is going on here?" The way things have fucking changed. It's like,
The the
but we can all say that.
the craziest thing is that when you watch movies from the 70s and they show what our time is now, it looked like we were supposed to be so far advanced. Flying in the air, and the Jetsons type of thing, and
Yeah.
the only thing that we've ever came medical wise, technology, like I said, thank God it happened to you now in 1960. You'd be a dead man in 1960. Would happen to you.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That
Mhm.
wise true, and technology wise, but everything else did not progress as quickly or rapidly as they thought 50 to 60 years ago. We're still in a slow progression to get. I mean, we probably won't even see it in our times. The things that they thought, like Logan's Run,
No,
stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
It just wouldn't. It's not going to be with us.
No, no, I don't think so. Not well, certainly not in my lifetime. But it's. I mean, you're right in what you're saying. You look at these movies from years ago, but you can see things. I mean, everybody's. There's all these conspiracy theories and all these people saying stuff, and it's like, like, oh yeah, but you look at Star Trek, and they had the iPads back in the '70s and stuff like that, and they were doing this and, like, teleportation and fucking all that. Okay, so I tell you what, as soon as they bring in teleportation, I'm fucking signing up for that shit, because fucking I'm fucking just fucking there you go, boom, I'm on stage, right? Thank you, good night, boom, back on the
Yeah,
sofa.
right.
Like,
That would help.
great.
But you know what? Send your gear first to make sure
Oh,
it gets there.
oh, yeah, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, talking about the cat
No,
stuff.
that's
I would say I want to ask you about with the cat. How's Flipper doing?
Oh, fucking hell. He's doing great. We got him a little playpen. It's well, I'm saying little. It's quite big actually. We didn't know it was going to be so big. But it's all got like soft sides and everything. So he's got a nice soft mat inside, so he can bounce around and run around as much as he wants. But I rehomed his two siblings, and there was always something about Flipper. I was like, I don't know about him. I don't know what his other two siblings were like little tortoiseshell or what we'll call a calicos, and but he was in the same litter as them. And then there was one day when he was in the playpen in the garden, and he was just standing there by himself, and he really had you could see the shakes going on. And I looked and I thought, oh, that's not too good. So I took him out. And for the longest time now on Instagram, I've been following these cerebral hyperplasty cats, the CH cats. There's a one called Tumble in America, actually. There's another one called Elvis Westley, and they've both got the same disorder. And you can see the way they shake, and when they're running and they'll fall over and then they get back up. And it's just the part of the brain which controls all the balance and everything, and the motor skills. It just doesn't develop. And I thought, I wonder if he's got that. And then just watching him moving, it's like, yeah. So we've brought him out of the main shelter, and he lives in the house with us now, because I've got another cat in the house called Snowy, and he was in the shelter, but he almost died. He had none of the other cats got it, but he had this horrible thing. Anyway, the vet didn't even give him 24 hours, but he pulled through by some miracle. He survived because the vet said, leave him with us. But in the morning, I think you're going to get a phone call. And I says, well, if he's going to die, he's going to die beside me. So they did what they could for him that night. I brought him home, stayed with him, and he's turned into the most loving, beautiful cat. So he's living with Flipper now. But yeah, Flipper's going to the vet next week. I'm going to get him checked over.
Now you have donations coming in to help you out with this stuff?
No, I don't. There was a point where I was doing like raffles and things like that, like all this old Venom memorabilia and stuff. I've still got a shitload of it over there on a sort of stand, and there's loads of bits and pieces. So I might do it again, and anything that I raise off that. But I haven't even had time to do this. I've got a Bandcamp account, and the songs up on Bandcamp that I've done, not the Venom stuff, but just my own personal stuff. And anybody who goes to Bandcamp, if you buy something, that's for the cats. It's not for me. That money comes in, and I'll go and buy cat food or blankets with it, or whatever we need. At the minute, I'm busy renovating they've got two parts. They've got what I call the hotel, where all the bedrooms are. Then there's a tunnel which leads to the playpen. There's a bridge which goes over to another section which links to the house, where there's a room there. That's where I prepare all the stuff and put the food out.
How many cats now?
Oh my God. I think there's close to 50 now.
50?
50, yeah.
That's a lot of litter.
It is. I mean, there has been some accidents, particularly in the pandemic, because we had a few of the boys who were booked in to go and get,
and it was a free for all.
The vets closed, everything closed,
right.
And then it was like, hey, kitten time. And like, oh God. And at the minute, I've got 2 abandoned kittens, and they are literally 5 days old. So if my eyes look heavy in any way, shape, or form, it's because every few hours, even during the night, I'm up. bottle feeding
are
these
these
two little.
all for adoption though? Can people reach out to you and if they're in the area, or are you
If
keeping them all?
if people in the area want, then yeah, I don't advertise it because I think, look, I've took these little fellas on. They're my responsibility. And even if we have an accident and there's a few kittens come along, it's my responsibility. I'll look after them. I love cats. I absolutely adore cats.
I can tell.
Well, ever since I've been, fucking this big, my mom always had a cat, so I've grown up with cats all my life. Wherever I've lived, there's always been a cat there, or two or three or four. um, but no, these two little ones, I'm bottle feeding them every few hours, and they're doing well. Their eyes haven't opened yet, but they're doing well. Um, so hopefully, I mean, I've had a few times which has been heartbreaking where they haven't survived.
Mm.
But I've had a few good successes where I've reared them from absolutely. I had one. She's living outside now called Luna. She's a beautiful white cat, and I've still got the photographs on my phone. But her mother, for some reason, the mother tried to kill her and tore her fucking throat right across there. And it was an emergency, boom, straight up to the vets. I mean, it was down to raw muscle and flesh.
Wow.
And I mean,
Survived.
she was about. She survived. Yeah, I got all the creams, everything that I had to do. She was backwards and forwards to the vet, and then that was bottle feeding all the time. And now she's outside. She's absolutely beautiful. But I mean, the first rescue, she's still alive, and she's now 11 years old. So one of the plans is to build another extension to it, but it's going to be a retirement home, and it's going to be for the older ones.
Okay.
So
yes.
there's
So
there's
they
about,
get peace from the kittens.
Yeah, they got peace and quiet from the kittens and the rowdy ones. I've also got one. I've got one, right? Well, I had this litter, and there was three little black ones, and this thing, right? And it was just no hair, nothing, right? So I thought, fucking hell, it's like a sphinx.
Mm.
So I was looking at this thing, thinking, what the fuck? But it didn't come from a sphinx. It didn't come from anything which had a lineage of a sphinx or anything like that. Saying, what the fuck? And then at about 3-4 months, it started growing hair. But there was a tuft came in here, a bit over there, a bit over there. And it was a right fucking mess, right? I was like, what the fuck is this? And then all these little ones together, they all seem to get a little bit of a cough and a cold. So boom, straight up to the vets. But they were so small, they were still in one carry box. So I said to the vet, I says, I've got a litter of kittens here, and they've got like little cough and whatever. Can you just check them over? Yeah, yeah. I says, one of them's quite unusual. She went, oh, right, okay then. So I opened the fucking lid up, and when she turned around, she just looked, and this was her exact words. She went, what the fuck is that? I don't know. And then what?
Did you take photos of the kitten in that state?
She was taking shots of it like this. The veterinary nurse came over and she was taking photographs. And then one night I was down here in the studio and my phone pinged, and it was Anita from up the house, and she sent me a link, and she went, and there was all it said was, "Who is this?" So I went, "What?" So I hit the link, and I was like, "Fucking hell, it's Sphinxy," because I just called it Sphinxy, right? Mm-hmm. And it turns out it's a recognized breed now, but it's called a Lycoy, or the nickname is the werewolf cat.
Oh, wow.
Look it up, right? When you get the chance, just look up Lycoi, Lycoi, and then werewolf cat, right? They're all identical. They all look the same, right? It's a genetic mutation, which can happen at any point in any line of cats. And I just so happened to get one. But now they're breeding the fuckers, It was, I think it was first discovered in the States somewhere and recognized as a breed in 2010 or something. But people are now trying to breed them, but they're still very difficult to breed because, like I say, it's a genetic mutation.
Right, right, right,
But
right.
yeah, there's one in the shelter. And
Well,
I tell you
you should
what,
post the photos on your Facebook page of the kitten back in the day too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he looks fucking evil, but he's
Sweet.
he is he's gorgeous. He really is. He's lovely. He's got such a sweet nature. But when you look at him, you just go, yeah, right. Fuck, what the fuck? But
Did,
no, he's a
did
good
the
one.
vet give
But
you a coupon book for discounts for as many times as you went there?
oh yeah, oh
I like to
god.
thank Jeff
But
for the west wing of my
he's
house.
oh god, no. So he'll be up for the snip shortly, actually.
Mm,
So gonna get him muted. That's the most expensive part of having them
yeah.
is the neutering process, and that's why I want to get because one part of the shelter at the minute it's just all females living in there. So just trying to keep them apart because once they come into season, fucking hellfire, it's just a free for all.
Yeah, yeah, they're all in heat, and then it's
Um,
all over.
yeah, yeah. But no, I wouldn't change a thing about them. I love them to bits. They're great.
One last thing. Are we gonna hear new music from you with Blaze, with Bulldozer and Abaddon? Is there any talks about getting a record deal or anything?
There's no talks about getting a record deal at the moment, but we have spoke about it. My initial reaction was, "Oh no, no, no! Who needs it?" It's like, but then I'm getting a lot of people saying, "New music, new music. What's happening? What's happening?" So we've talked about it, and all I can say is yes, there will be new music,
Oh, good.
but I don't know when. I don't know when, and I don't know in what form. I don't know how we're going to approach it. Obviously, I know what we're going to write. I know, how that's going to, which way that's going to go. But when it comes to record label or anything like that, I've got no idea. I'm not looking that far ahead at the moment. It may be that we just
You
throw
can
a new song.
self-release yourself too.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, no, these days, of course you can. I mean, we. I think what we did years ago when we played the Dynamo Festival, we threw in the Evil One, which was unrecorded track. Um, and it was just a new song that came out during the rehearsals. So I think that's a good possibility that we'll just throw something in live, announce it as a new song,
Mhm.
and just as we say, hoist the flag and see who salutes.
And float it out
You
there,
know,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Just put the idea out there. Just play it live before anything else, rather than this like, oh, we're going to do new music. And so at the minute, it's a yes, but I don't know if it's going to be an album, an EP, or whatever. We haven't even looked that far,
Right.
so we shall see.
And
We
what's
shall
your
see.
next gigs now?
Next month, August, I am in Norway for Midgard's Blood. We're playing that festival, and then the last one of the year so far. There might be something else, but so far the last one of the year is going to be in October, and that's Titan Fest or Tyrant Fest. I keep getting it wrong, but that's in France, and that's in October. And then next year, hopefully, full steam ahead. I mean, March is Japan.
Oh,
That's
great.
yeah, the date is already booked for that one, March 27th in Japan.
And you're
So
gonna
I'm
try to
looking
get
forward
onto
to that.
Hellfest and keep it true again and Grass Pop and all that for next year? Or are you gonna try to get those the
Um,
big ones?
I think there's been talks with another one of the big Belgian ones. You tend not to get festivals 2 years running. So
Oh, really?
maybe, yeah, maybe we'll look at like some of the other. There's so many festivals out there these
Yeah.
days. So I think there's going to be there'll be a decent choice of festivals out there for us next year. But like I say, there are 6 shows already booked, which will be announced before the end of this year.
And any possibility with the States?
I would like to think so. Um, that'll all come down to the visa situation.
Right. And that would have to be it'd have to be
Um,
worth your while too. You have to tour. You would have to do a couple of dates, not doing one off here.
yeah, no, we couldn't do a one-off over there. I mean, we have been offered a big South American tour, but um, I think we're going to just hold back on that to see what we can actually get festival-wise. If we could do, festivals over South America, and then maybe that'll work better for us. Obviously, we probably could do that with America, but we'd still have to have reasonable sized venues to,
Sure.
bring the show in and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm still aware of, my level and status in this, so we can't go demanding this and demanding that. I know I'm not fucking Metallica, and we haven't got the prestige, the real prestige of the, like the Pantera fucking reunion type of thing or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
But we'll take it as far as we possibly can with this.
Or hopefully you get a
And
name band that you could do a co-headline
yeah,
and
I
come to the
mean, I
States.
don't see why not.
Right.
Yeah. I think it would have to work like that. It would have to be one of these package type things. We'd have to look at it that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
but it's all to be spoken about. It's all to be looked at. So it's nothing's off the table. Let's put it that way. You know.
So
So
everybody can
we
go
shall
to
just keep doing.
Mantas website, right? Still active?
Yes. Yeah. That's still active. Yeah. And then there's the Instagram page. There's 2 Facebook pages. There's the Instagram Venom, Mantas Abaddon. So there's all that stuff there. So whatever you want to go over and give a follow, or go over to Flipper Puss and give him a follow. You can see what Flipper's doing if you're not interested in me. um, so yeah,
No, you always
there's
put out
plenty of
interesting
information.
content.
Well, we
Always put a
try.
smile
We
on your
try.
face. You always say hello to people when you're live. You're very interactive, Jeff.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. You know, everybody who knows me knows that I'm really awkward in social situations. When it comes to the face-to-face thing or throwing me into a room full of people, I'm fucking useless. But no, but even when I'm doing interviews, my girlfriend says, "For fuck's sake, can you just shut up?" But
We want to hear you talk. That's why you're
that's
being interviewed. Come on now.
yeah, but
Listen,
she hears me
that's
talk
why we
all the
did a
time.
part 2 with you. It was so great. We had
No, it's
unfinished
been great.
business.
No, it's been really good. Been really, really good.
Real pleasure to
Excellent.
be with you.
Perfect.
All
Good.
right, so I want to thank
And thanks for
everybody
having
for
us.
being with us. Again, it was a marathon, and I'm putting these 2 parts together, so it's so you got a half a day to listen to us and watch us on video.
Oh, you froze. What's happened?
I'm still here. You see me?
I think you just froze there, Paul.
How about
Oh,
now?
you're still there. That's
I'm
it. Good,
moving. You
man.
see
I
me
can
move?
see
I'm
you.
bobbing and weaving. You see
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, you're moving. Yeah. Oh, bobbing and weaving. Bobbing
Oh,
and
good. All
weaving.
right. All right. So I thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Jeff and Mantas Dunn for being here. You can follow him on Facebook and all. Is your Instagram your name also, Jeff?
Yes, I think it's just Jeff Mantas done. Or
Okay,
Jeff,
great.
Jeff Mantas, whatever it is. I don't know.
And
It's
like I
just
said, go
that.
to all the websites, help him out on Mantis.website, go to Bandcamp and get some of those songs, help those little kitties. Because, food and litter and shots and this and that, help this man out, especially if you're all cat lovers out there. All right.
Oh yeah.
I want to thank you for being with us. I am your host, Paul and Christine, and we always say, keep it hard. Thank you for being here. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
All right.